For nearly 2 decades, the identity of the Pittsburgh Steelers was inseparable from the man pacing their sideline. Mike Tomlin wasn't just the head coach, he was the tone setter, the voice, the standard. 19 seasons in charge, 0 losing records, a regular season mark of 193 to 142, a .628 winning percentage that placed him among the most consistent leaders of the modern NFL era. Stability like that is rare. Sustained relevance like that is even rarer. But legacies in Pittsburgh are measured differently. The Steelers don't hang banners for winning seasons. They measure greatness in Lombardi trophies and January statements. And while Tomlin began his tenure with authority, including a Super Bowl title and another appearance, the final chapters became increasingly complicated. An 8-12 postseason record, no playoff wins after the 2016 season. Too many promising rosters exiting quietly. The regular season remained steady. The postseason, however, turned into an echo chamber of frustration. And then came the shift. The Steelers turned the page. Mike McCarthy stepped in with a mandate: restore Pittsburgh to legitimate championship contention, recapture the January edge that once defined the franchise, reignite the aura that made opponents uneasy walking into Acrisure Stadium. For the first time in 19 years, Tomlin wasn't at the helm, and that absence immediately triggered the league-wide question: what now? At 53 years old, Tomlin is far from finished in football years. This isn't a coach aging out of the profession. This is a competitor still sharp, still respected, still capable, which is why speculation has swirled around his next chapter almost instantly. The loudest whisper? Television. On his show, Rich Eisen offered what felt less like a rumor and more like a breadcrumb intentionally dropped. "I'm hearing it's television right now, just dropping a breadcrumb." He framed it lightly. Not earth-shattering, not an official announcement, but in NFL media language, that's how confirmation often begins: subtly, casually, deliberately. And according to Eisen, this isn't new chatter. The idea of Tomlin transitioning into television has circulated behind the scenes for years. During the 2024 and 2025 seasons, rumblings grew louder. Insiders speculated. Network executives quietly wondered. Now that Tomlin is no longer coaching in Pittsburgh, the timing aligns. And if we're being honest, it makes sense. Few coaches commanded a microphone the way Tomlin did. His press conferences were clinics in message control and quotable authority. He blended blunt honesty with controlled ambiguity. He understood optics. He understood timing. He understood how to address controversy without surrendering leverage. That translates to television. Studios crave credibility. They crave insight without hesitation. They crave someone who can dissect a third down coverage bust in 15 seconds and then pivot to a locker room psychology breakdown in the next segment. Tomlin checks every box. He has Super Bowl credibility. He has 2 decades of organizational leadership experience. He has lived through quarterback transitions, locker room power struggles, offensive evolutions, and defensive identity shifts. And perhaps most importantly, he has presence. In a studio environment, presence is currency. The comparison many immediately draw is Bill Cowher. When Cowher stepped away from the Steelers, similar speculation followed. Would he return? Would he take another sideline job? Instead, he built a long and successful television career, remaining connected to the game without the grind of weekly game planning and organizational management. Cowher never returned to coaching. Tomlin's situation feels similar, but not identical, because Tomlin is wired differently. Cowher retired after delivering a championship in his final season. His exit felt complete. Tomlin's departure carries a different emotional texture. The playoff drought lingers. The sense of unfinished business hangs in the air. That matters. Competitors don't turn that switch off easily. Even Eisen acknowledged that nothing is definitive. No contract signed publicly, no network formally announced, just a strong directional hint. Television appears to be the next step, and if it is, networks will line up. The modern NFL broadcast landscape is hyper-competitive. Former players fill many analyst roles, but former head coaches bring something else entirely: structural understanding. They see the game from 30,000 feet and from inside the headset simultaneously. They understand why a coordinator called a specific coverage. They understand how in-game adjustments unfold between series. Tomlin would instantly become one of the most authoritative voices on any set. But here's where the story becomes layered. Television doesn't have to be permanent. In today's NFL ecosystem, the path between media and the sideline is fluid. Coaches step away, recalibrate, rebuild leverage, re-enter when the right opportunity presents itself. Tomlin is 53. That's young for a head coach with his resume. Ownership groups searching for stability often look toward experience in moments of crisis. A struggling franchise with a talented roster but fractured culture could view Tomlin as the stabilizer, the adult in the room, the culture architect, and that possibility will always hover. Even those close to him have hinted that the competitive itch doesn't disappear. Insiders like Jay Glazer have alluded to Tomlin's relentless drive. Coaches built like him don't casually detach from competition. But timing matters. Right now, stepping into television offers something coaching does not: perspective. No 4 a.m. film sessions, no weekly injury briefings, no roster politics, no front office tension, just football. Clean, analytical, strategic. For someone who has lived inside the storm for 19 years, that reset can be powerful. And yet, the image of Tomlin on a studio set doesn't erase the memory of him stalking the sideline in Pittsburgh black and gold. His legacy is secure regardless of what comes next. 19 straight non-losing seasons in the modern NFL is an achievement bordering on absurd. Sustained competitiveness in a salary cap era built for parity is rare air. But legacies are emotional as much as statistical. Steelers fans will remember the early dominance. They'll remember the physical identity. They'll remember January wins. They'll also remember the drought, the stalled playoff pushes, the sense that something slipped away late in his tenure. That tension is what makes this next chapter compelling. If Tomlin transitions into television, he won't fade into irrelevance. He'll remain embedded in the weekly conversation, breaking down playoff matchups, critiquing clock management, analyzing defensive structures. And every time a coaching vacancy opens, especially in a major market, the question will surface again. Would Tomlin return? Right now, the breadcrumbs point toward television, but competitors rarely close doors completely. For Pittsburgh, the focus shifts to McCarthy and the franchise's future. For Tomlin, the immediate horizon appears to glow under studio lights rather than stadium lights. Still, somewhere beneath the polished desk and broadcast camera, the same mind that engineered 193 regular season wins will remain active, calculating, evaluating, competing. Because coaches like Mike Tomlin don't stop being coaches. They just change the arena. And whether his second act unfolds entirely on television or eventually circles back to the sideline, one thing is certain: the NFL hasn't seen the last of him. For nearly 2 decades, the identity of the Pittsburgh Steelers was inseparable from the man pacing their sideline. Mike Tomlin wasn't just the head coach. He was the tone setter, the voice, the standard. 19 seasons in charge, 0 losing records, a regular season mark of 193 to 142. A .628 winning percentage that placed him among the most consistent leaders of the modern NFL era. Stability like that is rare. Sustained relevance like that is even rarer. But legacies in Pittsburgh are measured differently. The Steelers don't hang banners for winning seasons. They measure greatness in Lombardi trophies and January statements. And while Tomlin began his tenure with authority, including a Super Bowl title and another appearance, the final chapters became increasingly complicated. An 8-12 postseason record, no playoff wins after the 2016 season. Too many promising rosters exiting quietly.